Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Namrata Singh and you're watching Perspective. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has praised the rollout of 5G telecom networks in the country and the progress of the technology sector, calling them crucial for India's transition to a developed economy. At the India Mobile Congress, the Prime Minister celebrated the nation's progress, emphasizing that India's momentum did not stop at the success of 5G and took on the work of taking it to every individual. He underlined that 5G technology has helped India improve its ranking in terms of broadband speed to 43rd position from previous rank of 118th position globally. He also expressed confidence that India will take the lead with 6G technology. The Prime Minister said that in the development of digital technology, India is behind no developed nation. In our conversation today, we will focus on how India is not only embracing the 5G revolution, but is also shaping the future with its eyes set on 6G. To discuss this and much more, I'm joined by a very eminent panel of guests. Joining me in the studio is Mr. V.K. Roy. He is Deputy Director General SRI in the Ministry of Telecommunications. And joining us virtually is another guest, Mr. P. Balaji. He is Chief Regulatory and Corporate Affairs Officer at Vodafone India Limited. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and welcome to Sansad TV. Mr. Roy, let me begin the discussion with you. We have seen the fastest 5G rollout. Now, PM envisions India to take the lead in 6G. Help us understand what is 6G and its implementation and how can India take the lead on 6G.
Thank you very much for inviting Department of Telecommunication for this important discussion on 6G. Certainly, India is leading in deployment of 5G. We have the fastest rollout. But at the same time, the journey of 6G is beginning. Morning shows the day. And our Honorable Prime Minister has said that this decade is India's decade. First of all, I would like to talk about the unique journey of development of wireless technology. How wireless technology develops in a span of 10 years. It takes a decade. You were talking about 5G. In ITU terms, we tell it IMT 2020. The journey started in 2010 and ended in 2020. So it took almost 10 years. The journey of 6G has started just now in 2020 and final deployment will be in the year of 2030. So this time, from the beginning itself, we are fully organized and synergized. We are taking all efforts to make India lead in 6G. So what happened? First of all, in International Telecommunication Union, we have to formulate the requirements of 6G. So before that, in last March 2023, Honorable PM unveiled Bharat 6G Vision document. So this document is a blueprint for our guidance and way forward. This is helping a lot. The journey started in 2021 when 6 technology innovation groups were formed and they gave report in by the end of 2022. And finally, this document is very important. During March 2023, Honorable PM not only unveiled this document, but at the same time, he inaugurated the ITU Area Office and Innovation Center. That is also very important because that deals with the standardization. At the same time, 2 test bed research and development for 6G, 2 test bed for the 6G was also dedicated to the nation. 3 initiatives is very important for India because we are taking all these initiatives in the beginning of the journey. And since we are having Bharat 6G vision, this is helping to contribute in International Telecommunication Union Global 6G Vision document. India contributed in that, and Finally, we have our own contribution. One of the user scenario, that is ubiquitous connectivity, is part of ITU IMT 2030 vision document, and related capabilities also like coverage, interoperability and sustainability is also part of that. This is very important because standardization is a shared vision of all agreed stakeholders globally, not only the India, but India's unique requirements and unique requirements is now part of the global IMT 2030 vision document. So, this is very interesting. In the beginning itself, we are very much part of the global development process. So,
hold on to that thought, sir. Let me bring in Mr. Balaji into the discussion. Mr. P. Balaji, we have come a long way from using 2G and 5G, and 5G is seen as a game changer. So, why do we need 6G?
Thank you so much, Namrata, for having me on this program. Very important. I think I'll just set the context in 2 or 3 sentences and I'll answer your question as well. First, the government's progressive policies have ensured that the entire development of India in the digital arena is very fast. Right from the fact that we now, as a nation, have the maximum data consumption in the world when it comes to mobile networks is a testimony of the progressive policies of the Prime Minister and the entire government. Number one. Number two, if you look at it from a practical point of view, the aspirational youth of India want more data, more digital goods and services. We talk about India becoming a 1 trillion digital economy, and all of that will be on very strong mobile networks. As you rightly said, 4G is ubiquitous, 5G is also rapidly being rolled out. And at the time like this, it is extremely important, as Mr. Roy said, for India to take its rightful place in the development of 6G technology. Even though 6G networks will come up in 2030, 31 timeframe, it's important that today we participate in the standards. What does standardization help? Number one, it allows for India's use cases, because India has the highest density of population in a given geographical area because of urban agglomeration and so on. And once we have that, then the products that are designed are then for Indian citizens, number one. Number two, Indian startups and the academia and the industry has matured a lot. Today, we're talking about 4G stack and 5G stack from India. When we engage in the standardization process, then Indian companies will also be able to develop IPRs. And when you develop Indian IPRs, then you ensure that A, there is self-reliance for India, Atmanirbharta. Number two, we're able to also drive the costs to be lower for Indian citizens of new services. And number three, we're also able to have exports from India for the world. So in that sense, engaging in 6G today is super important as we still focus on covering with 4G and with 5G more and more parts of the world, more and more parts of India to benefit Indian citizens on multiple domains, whether it is for distance education, whether it's for remote health, whether it's for making our factories more efficient, whether it's for making sure that our port infrastructure is kind of driven by 5G captive networks in order to make sure that we have the fastest turnaround times for our ships and our containers and are able to cut down the logistics costs in line with the Gati Shakti mission of the government and the Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Roy, how will the 6G technology used across sectors?
First of all, the agreed user scenario in ITU is ubiquitous connectivity, joint sensing and communication, AI and communication, immersive communication and others. You can understand our contribution on ubiquitous connectivity. So, one base station or each base station will have a enhanced coverage. So, there is possibility of less base station. So, capex will be low. So, our 3 principles of Bharat 6G vision is affordability, ubiquity and sustainability. means energy efficiency also. So, ubiquitous connectivity is very important for developing country and especially for India also, because this will mitigate the digital divide and provide equal opportunity to rural and urban population both in digital domain. This is very important. Coverage was never a discussion point in ITU, but due to, I think, a firm intention of the India and Honorable Prime Minister Bharat 6G vision release, that this has become an important part of the 6G. At the same time, other user scenarios are also there, like joint sensing and communication, where network will act as a sensor. There is no need of extra sensor. Network itself will act as a sensor. The RF signal will create a digital twin. This will be helpful in various use cases, whether it is old people moving from one place to another places, or for road, highways, everywhere this can be used and digital twin can be created, and finally many help can be provided as per the situational requirements.
All right, all right. Mr. Balaji, in terms of services, what is going to be different in 6G from 5G and how will it benefit the common man?
Excellent question, Namrata. Every generation of technology basically reduces the latency, which means that's number one. Number two, it increases the bandwidth of the capacity and also allows for more devices to be connected per square kilometer. That's really what it is. And the journey between 4G and 5G itself is 10x. And what we'll see between 5G and 6G is also 10x. That means that's the kind of speed that we'll start to get. The latency drops to 1 millisecond from 10 at the moment. And therefore, it opens itself up to many use cases for common people. As Mr. Roy said, while today we look at sensors, and there'll be billions of sensors in the country, everything that can be connected would be connected, whether it's connected cars, whether it's surveillance cameras, whether it is the factory operations with machines and so on. All of them would be connected with sensors, with their IoT devices as they're called, and they'll be monitored constantly. But with 6G, the vision is for the network itself starting to sense. You're talking about a sensory network. And therefore, you don't need to have more and more IoT or sensors in order to figure out what's happening. Practical example, you're in a blind corner in a factory operation, right? And a worker is walking and there is a forklift also on the other side coming in. The network will itself sense that a collision is possible. It will give a warning to the person, the worker, to stop right there. And actually the forklift, which is then automatically given a signal to put it to stop to make sure there's no collision happening. That's one example. Let's take the case of borders, right? It is possible that you of course, even today can have surveillance cameras, but there can be potential dark spots which can develop between these. And the easiest way is if you had 6G that automatically senses any intrusion, then intrusion alarm can go off immediately. Same thing on roads to make sure that you can prevent collisions. You don't have to only look at the connected cars or connected vehicles and the signals from there to actually do predictive analysis. But the network itself sees the possibility of collisions potentially happening and stopping it. So safer roads, safer workplaces, more efficiencies, safer borders, and a whole lot more. I think those are just some of the elements of what we can do from a practical point of view, besides, of course, immersive and ubiquitous coverage that Mr. Roy talked about. So imagine one teacher teaching and the same experience through holograms and others being made available to all kinds of classrooms across the country, whether or not the teacher is located there physically or not. That's just one other example of how you can actually make a difference. And also you can do remote diagnostics, which will be useful for, for making sure that the uptimes of all the devices are kept high, and also that experts are there to provide support to people that are apprentices on the ground. So these are just many, many use cases that will come up by just moving to from 4G to 5G and moving from 5G to 6G thereafter.
All right, all right. Mr. Roy, so what about the cost involved?
Normally, for each generation, when we move from one generation to next generation, normally the improvement of capabilities of technology take place. And already Balaji has told that now in India, just see the per GB cost of the any user is very low now. So certainly for the user perspective will be low, and if you have the ubiquitous connectivity as a user scenario where the number of base station will be low, where energy efficiency is as a capability, sustainability as a capability, certainly that is also going to be low. So we hope that technology will be cheaper, but the time span always it is 10 years. It is starting from 2020, it will end at final deployment will be at 2030. In between we have the requirements, after requirements we have technical performance requirement, then we go for the R&D works and standardization at the same time, and finally after the development of proper standardization standards, we go for the products development, and at the after that deployment of the technology. So time span is 10 years.
10 years for
Yes.
every generation
Of the mobile wireless technology.
True,
Yes.
true,
Yes.
true. Mr. Balaji, from an industry point of view, how can we make sure that India is successful in enabling 6G?
Good question again, Amrita. I think first of all, the Prime Minister has given a clarion call for us as a nation to lead in the 6G arena. And so the fact that we have a vision document so far ahead is a very good first step. Second, the industry, the academia, and the government and the entire ecosystem has collaborated to form a Bharat 6G alliance. That's again a very good step, because you're suddenly talking about all the players in the ecosystem collaborating to create the right kind of standards, looking at the right kind of strategies and execution plan for India to get to the vision that has been placed by the which has been actually enumerated by the Honorable Prime Minister. Third, if you look at it, we are talking about already engaging through the standards process and the harmonization. So spectrum harmonization always allows that 6G spectrum gets opened out across all the nations at the same time, allowing for affordable services and affordability coming in there. The fact that we will be influencing standards will mean that anywhere from 6 to 10% of the IPRs can be generated out of India, and that automatically drives self-reliance, number one, drives lower cost, and that's also a good first, that's another good step in the right direction. And then on top of that, if you look at it, the constant engagement on multiple fronts as industry, whether it's in the case of multi-platform next-gen networks, the 6 task force that the government has set up, whether it's on innovative solutions, whether it's on spectrum, whether it's on devices, standardization, R&D finance, and all of these things, you find that the industry is engaged with the government and the academia to come up with the right strategies and execution plan from now until 2028-29, when the standards gets frozen and the IPRs are in place. And thereafter, in 2030 is when the first deployment start, and by 2033 or so, you'll see the massive deployment taking place, and then that will be the virtuous cycle that we need to make sure that citizen-centric services, human-centric services are offered at scale, and that there are Indian companies that can also become providers of solutions from 6G point of view for the entire world.
All right, sir. Even at your Bharat 6G vision and also at the India Mobile Congress, the message which was putting forward is the recent emphasis on India's becoming an exporter rather than just a consumer of telecom technologies. What are your thoughts on this vision, sir?
This is a very good question. Final target of 6G development in India is to have 10% of the IP. Whatever IP is generated globally, 10% we should have. So if we have our own IP, so finally it will convert into revenues for the Indias. So we are not only starting, but final destination is creation of IP, products and equipments, and even services also. If we move in such as we started today. So if we move consistently in that direction, and already Mr. Balaji has spoken that all stakeholders of the telecom ecosystem, they are participating in this. They are very motivated. The system is very vibrant. All are contributing. So certainly we are going to achieve the target of self-reliance, and finally we will be not only using our equipment, but we will be selling our equipment to different countries. At present, we have our own 4G stack. We have 5G stack also. So I think this is the experience which we have today. Certainly this is going to help in 6G also, and we will be exporting our equipment, services, devices, everything to different countries of the world, certainly.
All right, all right. Mr. Balaji, even I would like to understand from you as well, from the industry point of view, the recent emphasis on India becoming an exporter rather than just a consumer of telecom technologies is a significant shift from the industry perspective. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's surely a game changer. As India has a large, vibrant economy, as India has a large digital economy, thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister and the entire government vision to catalyze it, we need to make sure that we are self-reliant. Clearly, the import of equipment has, started to come down. India manufacturing for the world, India manufacturing for India has already taken strong roots. We just have to look at what's happening in the mobile devices space, where our exports have gone up tremendously in the last few years. The same thing is true about telecom equipment as well. As Mr. Roy said, the 4G, 5G stack, the Tejas, Tata Tejas, TCS combined along with C-Dot coming with 4G stack and also 5G stack is a welcome step. The movement towards open radio access network is another opportunity as more and more the technology moves to software. India has the technology prowess in order to make sure that we can be a significant player in the open radio access network arena as well. And so all of these, and as the investments start to go up in the digital economy more and more and telecom networks more and more, it is very important from self-reliance point of view as well as from a cost point of view that we have more and more equipment manufacture, more and more device manufacture in India. And the more we manufacture in India, the more we can serve not just Indian customers, but also the world markets. And I'm very, very positive from the industry point of view. I'm also the vice chair of the Telecom Export Promotion Council. ICR members are very excited and looking forward to taking their rightful place in driving manufacturing and exports out of India.
Thank you, Mr. Roy, Mr. Balaji, for being a part of this insightful discussion on perspective. The rapid advancement of technology, as highlighted by Prime Minister Modi, signifies India's unwavering commitment to progress. As we move forward, propelled by the success of 5G, the promise of 6G looms large, with the potential to reshape our world once again. That's all I have for you in this edition of Perspective. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV.